Hey everyone! Okay, I'm here a day sooner than I thought. Thank you so much for your understanding on the fact that I did not get to this video as soon as I had planned. I sometimes I suffer from lying to myself, trying to think that I can pull time out of thin air, and then it turns out that I in fact cannot pull time out of thin air. So here I am, making the video. So we have 3 bikini shows going on this weekend. And the first one is gonna be the Moscow Pro-Am, which is really cool because, okay, I haven't fact-checked this, I'm just thinking it right now, but if you go pro at the amateur component, then you get to compete. Usually it's the next day with the pros. So you get to do your pro debut like less than 24 hours later, which is so freaking cool. So excited about that. And then our other show we have going on is the Alicante, Spain Pro Cup, so that's very exciting. And then the third show is a Masters show, which is going to be 35 plus and 40 plus, and more than that too, more Masters. But the 40 plus is what qualifies you for the Masters Olympia. So I did a little poll on my YouTube, and I said, do people care about the Masters shows? Do you want to hear about the lists? And I think 2 people responded. And it was a pop-in poll. I had to shut it down because I was getting such an influx of responses. 2 of you said yes, so we're going to go over that too. So there are 2 open shows this weekend. Today's been a weird day. I talked at a career fair, and these kids will just stare at you. And I went to go to the bathroom before one of the things started, and the door was locked. And I was like, why is this door locked? And the teacher told me that they lock it for the first 10 minutes of class, so the kids will go to class. And then the teacher whose room I was doing my presentation in was like, oh, we lock them because kids just vape all day. And she said, you're probably going to hear the smoke detector go off while you're here. So that really got me. Okay, so let's get into it. So I forgot to pull Alessia, which, rude. I needed to pull her up. So this weekend, we have a few people whose names popped out to me. So I wasn't familiar with a lot of them, so I had to do a little research, which is also why this video was delayed. So I pulled up a few people who I think are going to be the ones to watch. So we have Ekaterina, Shakina, so I should have looked up how to pronounce these names, I'm so sorry. And I could not find much about her on NPC's website because it was down when I was looking originally, but now maybe it's not down. But what I did find is that she has been, okay, I did have the update info. She's been to the Olympia before. So, she last competed, according to this, in 2016, where she competed at the Olympia, and did not place. But, I mean, most people don't place at the Olympia. Only 15 out of the, 60 who are competing end up placing. Let's see how many people were there that year. So, Courtney King won this year. And yeah, there were 43. So it's really hard to place at the Olympia, always has been. So I have pulled her up, and then we're also going to look at her Instagram to see if she has posted any updates, which I believe she has. So, oh, I'm wrong, you guys. I'm so sorry. But love a latex moment. Yes! Okay, suddenly she's the person I want to win because she's wearing full-on latex. Oh, and she has a kid, and she's wearing full-on latex. Go you. Okay. We're rooting for Ekaterina. How fierce does she look? Good for her. So anyway, she is one to watch. She hasn't competed since presumably 2016, so 8 years ago. So it'll be really great to see how she looks. Let's see what we think based on today's standards. So she definitely has hourglass shape, tight waist. Glutes are matching the development of the shoulders. Conditioning all around. Doesn't look like she had trouble getting conditioned. Hair is sleek. And then let's look at the back pose to see what her insertions are like. Yeah, okay, so she's someone who has higher insertions. I get that. So it's usually a little bit, it takes a little longer for people with shorter insertions to start to see that glute ham ties start to come in. When you have insertions that go to the middle of your leg, like India Paulino, then you can start to see that conditioning a little bit faster. But yeah, she looks very balanced top to bottom. This was 8 years ago, so it's hard to, really say what she's going to look like now. And let's just look at India Paulino so you know what I'm talking about. So India Paulino got third this year. And we can see her her glutes, and now how deep they insert on her hamstrings. See, they go down to basically her mid leg. So yeah, when you have longer tie-ins, then you're able to see them a little bit sooner and maybe at a higher body fat than if you have shorter insertions. So really excited to see Ekaterina this weekend. The next person who I have pulled up is that the show she's doing? Yeah, I put it in order. So another Ekaterina Opkanova. So she has placed second this year, missing her qualification 2 times. The first one, she lost to Ariana Brothers at Battle of the Bodies, which was the last weekend of this year to qualify. And the next one was the Daytona Pro, where she placed second to, who won Daytona? I know Ali Vat Howard got the 6th. Okay, yeah, Yulia. So she lost that qualification to Yulia. So let's take a look at Ekaterina O. So I watched the stream that she was on, the Battle of the Bodies stream, and she has beautiful balance from top to bottom. Her conditioning is spot on. It's even all the way around. In this front pose, I'd like to see her open up just slightly. And when I say open up, I mean turning that torso, maybe like just 10 degrees more towards the judges. So we can see a little bit more of this shoulder width. What happens when you turn more is that you lose a little bit of this glute profile. So if you're just, when you think about it, when you turn a little bit more towards the judges, then it pushes this glute away and takes away a little bit of that pop on the glute. So there's usually a reason why pros are posing the way they're posing. It's not like they're new to the sport and don't get it. It's usually that they're posing a certain way because they are trying to cover something else up. So posing is all about trade-offs. If you pose more straight on, then we get more shoulder width, and maybe it makes your taper look better. But maybe when you do that, you're completely sacrificing that glute profile, so the trade-off isn't worth it. So yeah, and she's doing this in the first time she does her front pose and the second time. So it looks like that just is her front pose. As far as, let's look at her back pose, and then we're going to talk a little about her presentation. So in her back pose, she's another person who has shorter tie-ins. So her and the other Ekaterina both have shorter tie-ins, so they'll be pretty comparable in that way. And while you aren't trying to chase one certain person's physique, like just because Laura Lee just won the Olympia, people will say, oh, this is the new standard that's been set. I mean, the standard is always the same. I mean, they're looking for the person who fits the criteria the best on that day. So Laura Lee is someone who also has a little bit shorter glute insertions. So we know that having short insertions doesn't mean you won't do well. But yeah, so shorter insertions, but great pop. We aren't seeing any harsh etching in the tie-ins. It looks a little bit harsher in this picture, and I would say that's just because of the extreme downlighting. So we talked about that at the Olympia finals, where if the light is being cast down on you, then since your glutes pop out further than your hamstrings do, then they're going to cast a shadow onto those hamstrings. So yeah, and I think what maybe set her apart from Yulia that day is Yulia has an incredible back pose. Like, she has a ton of pop to her glutes. She looks like a statue. Like, Ekaterina looked incredible, but Yulia's back pose is really hard to beat. So I think Ekaterina is probably my favorite to win. I think she will likely be first at this show. And then we have Alessia. Where is Alessia? Here she is. So then we have Alessia. She has been to the Olympia like a million times. And she unfortunately did not qualify for this year's Olympia. So it looks like she's shooting for that qualification again. She's been competing throughout the year. She did, I think, Pittsburgh Pro. She didn't place at the Pittsburgh Pro. I think what gets in her way is that she comes in a little bit hard, and now there's just stiffer competition than there has been in the past when she qualified for the Olympia. Like, the proportions on the girls these days are crazy, and Alessia has a propensity to come in pretty hard. So she's with a different coach this year, and they've been doing a really good job of softening her up. Like, this is the Clash, the last show she did, and I would say this is her best look yet, because her conditioning is spot on relative to other shows she's done this year, which I will show you. Really great balance, but I think something that's hurting her is her waist just looks a little bit, I hate to even say wide, because obviously all these people have incredibly tiny waists, but wider than the people she is up against these days. Again, I think this was her best look this year so far, but usually we see a lot of detail in her hamstrings. And since she came in softer at this show, I think she loses the little bit more pop she usually has in her glutes, because she was trying to come in softer to not get that crazy hard conditioning and those like rope-like hamstrings that you get when you're really lean. So she was losing a little bit of pop. I think she's also pinching her shoulder blades a little bit too much, which is totally diminishing her lats here. I think if she opened up her shoulder blades a little bit, where we saw more of that taper from the lats into the waist, then that would improve her back pose a bit. But let me show you what I'm talking about with just coming in a little more conditioned. And the posing this year, she cleaned it up come Clash, but she was posing like this a lot this year, which I think was not helping her. She's not really getting that balance from top to bottom. She's a little pinched off in her shoulder blades. And like we talked about with another athlete, OBVI, if she split her stance more, then it would fall more in line with what the standardized position is that we are seeing these days. So let's go to, I wanted to show you what I meant by conditioning. This year she's coming softer. So, you know, maybe just ignore what I said about her conditioning. But, yeah. So I think she will be in the top 5. I don't really see her winning the show. But this is what I mean with, like, better pop in her glutes here, but we're seeing a lot of detail. I know the lighting is different, but a lot of detail in the hamstrings and even in the calves here. So, yeah. I think Ekaterina is our front runner, and then the other Ekaterina from 2016, unless she's made crazy improvements, which she probably has, it's been 8 years, and Alessia will be 3 of those people in our top 5. The next list we have is, and the other people at that show, it's a lot of people who are doing pro debuts and a lot of people who just recently went pro and are competing again, but haven't placed very high as a pro. So yeah, that is Moscow. And then we have the Alicante, Spain show. So the people that I have pulled up are, we have Anna Tharup. So she has placed 4th this year, 9th this year, and 10th. I think let's go based on her September 28th photo, which was pretty recent. And let's look at her posing in the Italy show. So let's talk about her posing first. Her posing, I think this looks really good. I would like her to bring her hand in just a little bit closer to frame that glute more. But I think what she might be lacking is just a little more size in these legs. Her upper body, she has a lot of shape and bubbliness up here. But it looks like her legs are not matching in size. At least I'm not really seeing much hamstring. The quad looks pretty narrow. I know we talk about the glutes tapering down into those legs, but this I would say is probably a little bit too extreme. It's reminding me of Ariana Brothers and how her goal right now is to put on a little more size in her quads. So let's go to the Olympia this year and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And this is not a knock on Ariana. Ariana, I wanted to see her win this year. Unfortunately, you know, she isn't quite there yet, but I think we could see her win next year. And yeah, so they're working on building her quads a little bit. So we can really get that bubbliness from the top to match the bubbliness on the bottom. So my fingers are crossed that Ariana wins next year. Okay, so let's go back. Here she is, and I just had her other picture pulled up. So here she is. So yeah, I think she could benefit from putting on a little bit more size, so she has that balance and muscularity from top to bottom. I think she did a great job changing her pose from the last show, which we can go over in a sec. But in her back pose, I think she's just going to need a little more size up here, and for that bottom to be scrunched, maybe for that top inch, to give her more of that heart shape that we've talked about with competitors before. Gina Scafoglio, that's the person that I'm thinking of. Also could be lighting. She's looking pretty hard in the hamster, like seeing that abductor pop here, but I think it's just going to be an overall size thing. A little more size on the glutes. Some presentation she could fix is getting the heart shape to the bottom and leveling out these shoulders. It looks like this left one is cocked up compared to the right. And a lot of times we develop those imbalances from posing on just one side all the time. So if she just lowered this hand a little bit, I think it would help her out. And then as far as some polishing details in terms of stage presence, I think she could up her glam a little bit. That lip, it's kind of a corally color, but it's not really popping on her. I would like to see something a little brighter. Brighter meaning stands out more, but it could still be neutral. She could have like a mauve-y kind of color, just a different color to pop better. And then eye makeup, it looks a little cool toned, could just be the pictures. But either way, I just want to amp up this glam factor. Like we see a big difference between that level of glam and the level of glam we saw on, for instance, Laura Lee this year. Like Laura Lee's glam was off the charts. It always is, but you'll see what I mean when I show you this picture. Like, it just looks very lively and vibrant. So you, especially when you get that lean, then it sucks a lot out of you getting that lean. So having the glam be amped up to bring some more vibrancy to the skin is really, really helpful. So Anna placed 10th at that show, and then she placed 4th at this show. And this is what I mean. She improved her posing by angling more forward at the next show, even though her placing dropped a little bit. And it looks like her glam was about the same. But yeah, so that's my take there. I think we'll probably see her in a top 5. But there's actually a lot of people. These are the people I think we'll see in the top. I don't really have an official opinion on who's going to place what, but I'll leave some people up so we can go through it again. Okay, and then we have Gita. So we have Gita. She has placed 8th, 11th, and 14th this year, 8th being her highest placing, and in the past she's placed 3rds, 4ths, 5ths, 4ths again, so she's done very well in the past. I do actually really like this suit. I think maybe taking away those AB stones, because AB stones reflect a little bit like headlights on stage, because they're so bright, so under the lights it can be a little bit extreme. But I do like the color of the suit, and I'm honestly not even mad about the suit, even with those stones. But yeah, I think her glam is pretty. I really like her glam. I love that she has tattoos, but that's beside the point. I think what she could adjust is this pose. So I think this is pulled up a little too high. It's tilting the front of the suit bottoms forward, and when it's rounded up like that and pointing forward, then I think it makes the abs look like they're distended when obviously they're not, and they don't even look like distended here, but it just is all about that illusion. So I would like for her bottoms to maybe just stop at about here instead of up so high. I assume they were just too big and she was trying to keep them up, because sometimes when you get that lean, you don't anticipate that your bottoms will no longer fit. So I think they were probably too big, because we're also seeing a little bit of like bunching right there. So I assume it's just not laying flat against her skin, because if it laid flat against her skin, the sides would fall down. So I think it's just a suit fit issue. So yeah, I would like to see it stop right about there, and I would like to see her not hyperextend this knee. So that same thing we've referenced 2 times before with how Jen Dory has the same hyperextension situation, and then she bent her knee a little bit more at the 2023 Olympia, and it gave her better balance from top to bottom. And then I want those feet to be apart, and this arm to be down a little bit so shoulders are level. Bring that hand closer to the body. This pose it leaves a lot to be desired, and I did pick the pose where she was fully posed, I believe. So yeah, I think some posing things. And then her back pose is pretty good. I would bend her knees so that her legs are not not straight up and down, but it would just give her hamstrings a little more fullness if she had more bend to the knee. And it looks like she's still moving a little bit here, so I'll choose a different picture. But yeah, if she had a little more bend to the knee, then I think she would look a little bit more confident. Right now, when she's closed up like this, it looks a little bit nervous. So I would make that adjustment. And I think her arms are in a pretty good place. I would like to see more spreading of the shoulders, but they don't look pinched. And I think if she just bent her knees a little bit, then I wouldn't even be thinking about her upper body. But right now, it's looking a little unbalanced because her legs are so close together. So I would maybe spread the stance just like half inch, an inch on both sides, bend the knees. These bottoms, I'm thinking they're definitely too big. It's just too much fabric. So I think if she scrunched this and also cut some of the fabric from this upper part, then the suit would lay better on her. Let's see if when she was placing, yeah, okay, this suit is much better. This fits way better. She's since gone blonde. Love that. Okay. A week later. Very cute. So, yeah, and I think her posing is better here. She's doing exactly what I was saying I would like her to do. Yeah, a little bend in the knees. Those bottoms could be pulled up in the front and down in the, which would pull them down in the back. So if they're pulled down in the back, we wouldn't see where this glute connects to the low back. So do you see how we can actually see the glute insertion, and we're seeing it kind of get shallow and flat up here? If she just pulled her bottoms down a little bit by pulling them up in the front, if her suit fit would allow for that, then that would give way, way better shape to the glutes. So, yeah. And then in her front pose, she's staggering her stance. This shoulder is cocked up. I think she could drop her hand a little bit lower onto the connector. And I think she could bring that arm down, relax it a little bit. But, yeah. And we're seeing this skin folding. And I think it's probably just from posing so hard. So if she bent that knee a little bit, then it would take away a little bit of that arch in her back, which would probably minimize this skin folding. And again, I'd like to see the suit cut right about here. I don't want to see necessarily where the oblique connects to this hip area. And let's see if in the past when she posed, or when she placed higher, how she was posed. And like I said, people pose certain ways for a reason, so maybe she's doing it for a reason, but yeah. Okay, it looks like she always pulls the suit up that high. Yeah, I would like to see probably just different suit maker altogether. But yeah, I think she's someone who could place up there if she makes those changes to her posing, because she definitely has the muscle. She's placed last year when she probably had even a little bit less muscle, because you put muscle on when you're in improvement seasons generally. Okay. And then we have Rania Stamatadou. I say these names in my head, and I guess I just trail off in the middle of it in my head. But Rania is someone who's placed kind of all over the place this year, but I've been having my eye on her, because whenever she comes to a show, I'm like, maybe she'll place high, like she did in this summer, which was July. So, and in the past, she's placed top fives, top six, but consistently. And she just went pro in 2022. So yeah, here she is this year in July, which is July to now is more than enough time to make improvements. So what would I adjust? I would bring that arm closer because it's so far out that it's making the upper body look wider, or just that midsection area, it's widening it. And we want everything to be like sleek and compact, to just really frame our physique. So I would like to see the arm closer down and see how her oblique, it's above the connector. That's what I want to see with the person we just went over. So yeah, I think this pose is good. I think she could just stand a little more upright here, because we're seeing that abdomen kind of lean to the side. And the way she would do that is if she arched a little bit less, because it looks like she has a lot of glute. And if she just stood up a little taller, then we wouldn't get that kind of lean, which can read as a little bit awkward and nervous, and unnatural. And it all comes down to looking like you're just naturally standing there, which we've talked about before. And let's see if maybe she did pose that way recently and then changed it. Yeah, she's still leaned over here. So, but she does have all the glute in the world, but she's still leaned over. So I would clean that up a little bit. And I think we could definitely see her in the top 5 as she usually is. Oh, she's competing in October. That didn't show up before. Okay, here she was just like a week ago. Yeah, leaned over. So I just want her to stand up a little bit straighter, just with this upper body here. And her face in the pictures I've seen just reads as like a little bit uncomf. I want some more stage presence. Like, I want her to step on stage and own the stage, you know, just as soon as the judges can see you, like we've talked about, just look like you're having the best time you ever had and try to look like you're not even trying. Easier said than done, especially when you're really trying to get that Olympia qualification. It's stressful, you know, it's hard not to be thinking about it a lot, but I think that would really help her out. Looks like she's getting a little lean in these hamstrings, and like we talked about again with Gina Scafoglio in the Hurricane show, I think she's trying to arch in a way that will show those glute ham ties and make her glutes look a little more prominent, but it's actually exposing this like flatter area here where the glute isn't even, that's not even where the glute is. So it's widening her hips and making her glutes look less developed because she's getting this kind of I don't know what you would call it, like diagonal L shape, where we see that connect and go into this inner area. So I would like to see her arch a little bit less. And that would also help lift her upper body up and show us more taper. Because when you're arching this much, it pushes your waist back, making your waist look wider from the back. So her waist is looking like a similar width to her hips. And I think if she has stood up a little straighter, didn't arch as much, it would be a much more balanced, natural look. And in the past, has she done that? Let's find out. Let's see. Did she stand straight up in the past? Yeah, she stood a little straighter up. A little. Nothing crazy, but definitely a little bit. And yeah, her conditioning is just looking a little hard at this show. So if she softens up, looks a little more confident the whole time she's on stage, and stands up a little straighter, I think we could see her get an Olympia qualification for 2025 really soon. I really want to see that because it sucks competing this much and then going up and down in placings. Like, it's disheartening. And then we have Carrie Sexton. Okay, we love Carrie. We talked about her with the Fitparade show. The Divas and the Dolls. So here she was at, that was Europa, so this isn't even the Fitparade. But yeah, here she's at the Fitparade, and our only feedback was we want to see her soften up a little bit, with her look, like the colors. So a brighter color would be, I think, better on her. A little bit lighter, like softer glam would be nice on her. And I think one of the colors that I liked is the Europa color we just saw, I think. I think this blue, the blue she was wearing, was really pretty and a nice soft color for her. But really, any soft color, I think, would be really great for her. Yeah, I love this color. This is very pretty. So she wore that color. I think that really softened her up, and she looked like very natural, very feminine, as they say in the criteria. So I think if she brought back that color, this is a killer look. Softer glam, lighter suit color. Maybe you could amp up the glam a little bit, but the color story is there. So yeah, that's what I would like to see from Carrie. And girl, I am pulling for Carrie. That's all I have to say. And the waist. Like I said, the waist is going to be the thing that I think is her little problem area. She's perfect. I'm like so about Carrie. So yeah, same feedback that we talked about already. And then I think that Sarah Punzetti is who is going to be coming in and taking the show. She just went pro last year around this time. And then she came out this year, did her pro debut, got second, and then she placed fourth a couple weeks ago. I think she will be my favorite to win this show. And is that her on the background? Oh, okay, that's on purpose. They have her picture and her name there. I was like, whoa, is she the background since she won last year? Her pro card. So yeah, I think that she just has great balance top to bottom, not too much muscle. And this, okay, so she's my front runner. So I think she and Carrie Sexton look very different. And Carrie has placed second twice in a row this year. So I'll be curious to see where they stack up against each other in the judges' eyes. But yeah, I think that she has like great balance top to bottom, not too much muscle at all, tiny, tiny waist. I think her glam is really good. I think this color really pops on her. Usually I'm kind of bored by blues, but this blue is really, really dynamite on her. Is it lame and dorky to say dynamite? Because it straight up is dynamite on her. Same thing, that she could pull these bottoms down a little bit and cover up this shallowness at the top of the glute. But I don't know who's judging this show, but I am going to be really excited to see where they place her, because she's placed second and fourth this year. It's her first year as a pro. But like, look at this conditioning. The conditioning is just spot on. It's not too hard. She's not too soft. We can see the indication of the glute ham tie-in without seeing a ton of hamstring definition. Rear delts are popping and matching the glutes. So I think her rear delts, in this picture at least, are a little more muscular looking than her glutes, like this separation we're seeing, but I don't think that's going to be a major factor. And then we have Inez Neves. So she has placed second this year. And when she placed second, did she place second to like Evie? Yeah, she placed second to Evie. So I think, but Evie I think is competing at this show. Okay, stay tuned. Yeah, Evie, so it's going to be tough. Maybe Sarah is not my front runner. I pulled all these pictures up yesterday, so I'm like kind of remembering as I go. But, so we have Inez. I think same thing, pull that arm a little closer, straighten the arm, because when you bend this elbow, then it pops your front delt forward and can read as an imbalance. It can read as your shoulder overpowering the rest of your arm. And just like the judges talk about with wanting your glutes to be imbalanced to the muscularity in your legs, same thing with the arms, same thing with everything. So yeah, and I think she could eliminate some of that rib flare if she didn't hollow out the abdomen as much as holding it in and pulling it up. So when you do that, usually that will flatten the rib cage here, or flatten this area so the rib cage doesn't pop out, rather. And the pose just looks a little bit forced because she's leaned forward like this. Her hand is pretty close to her inner ab area, like right next to her belly button. I would not bring it so close to the belly button. Also, when you have your hand right next to the belly button, it reads as skin flowing into skin. So right next to your belly button, that's the tiniest part of your waist. So you don't want to cover up the tiniest part of your waist by putting your hand against it, because that's skin flowing into skin, so it reads as wider. So I would bring it down here, and I would stand straighter up, because that edge of the shoulder is not in line with the edge of the glute. So I would stand a little bit straighter up, and then try to eliminate that rib flare and straighten the arm. But her conditioning looks really good. Not too hard, not seeing any feathering or over-conditioned stuff. She could probably be even a tiny bit tighter, honestly. And right now, she is almost pinching her shoulder blades and really pushing those elbows back, which is eliminating this taper from her lats into her waist, like we've talked about. And we also don't want to see any part of your hands. So if she just slid her hands further down her leg here, so we weren't able to see them, then it would automatically give her that taper from the lats into the waist. Not that this is a lat competition, but that taper really gives hourglass from front to back. Then yeah, I think she would have better balance. So maybe a little less bend in the knees, straightening the arms, not pinching the shoulder blades together, and then pulling the suit up in the front, down in the back, so we don't see this glute connected to the low back. She's just over posing. And we've talked about in the past how when you pose really hard, usually it's because in the past you had to pose really hard to make it look like you had a certain conditioning level that you didn't have yet, and now she has probably enough muscle to not need to pose to compensate for that anymore. So I was just pulling this up to see if she posed softer in the past. Yeah, she's pretty much always posed like this. So a couple posing adjustments, and I think we could see her, depending on how everyone looks, in that top 8 or higher. I mean, her history is pretty good. Like, she's not really good. She's gotten a second and a third as a pro, right after going pro. Someone else we have is Lorena Blanco. So we saw her competing here in the US this year, and she placed 4th at the Tahoe Pro and 6th at Tampa, and Tampa is a really stacked show. So Ariana got 5th at this show, Evie got 2nd, I think, and yeah, Issa won, and Rihanna and Alice got 3rd and 4th. So Lorena placed 6th to them, and I think when she was at the Tampa Pro, she ended up beating some... Oh, I thought she beat some Olympians, but I'm wrong. She didn't. But yeah, I think she's someone to watch. She is a shorter competitor, so sometimes it's easier for them to get a little bit lost in the lineup. Not always, but just sometimes. It looks like at her last show, she came in a little bit too hard, I would say. You don't really want to see this level of conditioning. And I think that it's washing out her abs. Like, maybe her body's just a little bit fatigued from competing since this summer. So let's look at her back pose. These photos are off center, but pinching the shoulder blades, the pose just isn't looking very natural. She didn't do as well at this show as she did earlier this year. Say, like, the Tampa Pro. Let's look at this, because this was probably her best look of the year. The shape is all there. I watched the stream, and she was, like, really fun and captivating to watch on the stream. But yeah, I think there's going to be some presentation stuff with the makeup she could work on and posing. But what it might come down to, unless she, like, totally blows me away this weekend, which who cares if she blows me away? But I think in another year, like, with some building so she doesn't feel like she has to pose as hard, then we could see some really exciting placings for her. Okay, and now we have Evie Eskandar. So she... Usually when she competes in Europe, she wins. So, like, she had 2 shows in Europe this year. She won both of them. This year she placed 16th at the Olympia. I know everyone places 16th who isn't in the top 15, but on the scorecards, she had a higher score than all the other people who placed 16th. And then last year, she, at the 2 shows in Europe she got first place. The one in the US, she got 3rd. So she, like, consistently is always doing well. And it's hard to say who's going to win these shows in Europe, because sometimes the judging is not as consistent. But I think Evie has a really strong shot at winning. I think it's going to be her and that girl Sarah. So I'm really looking forward to how that goes. And Evie competed at the Olympia Brazil this year, like last weekend. And I don't know if pictures ever went up for that, so let's find out. No. Okay. I don't see any right now, at least. But yeah, I think Evie will probably win. Why does Evie win? She has great balance. Her stage presence is phenomenal. So fun to watch. She always looks like she's having a good time. This smile she has on her face, it's the whole time. She's always beaming on stage. She, like, when you look at her, you're like, oh, she's meant to be here. This is what she loves. So she's really fun to watch. Loving the pink suit she's been wearing. Would like to bring that arm closer, and I would like her to actually angle away a little bit so we get that balance from top to bottom, just that more standardized pose. She, a lot of times, will do poses that are a little bit, not always the most flattering for her physique. But yeah, okay, this angle here is really good, and then if she could just bring that arm in a little bit. But yeah, I think it might be her or Sarah. So those are my front runners for that show. So we got Sarah and we got Evie. And then we have our Masters show qualifying us for the Masters Olympia. So I'm not as familiar with all these athletes, but we have one person, Angela Rosilli, who wins like every show she does. She is a really fierce Masters competitor. And here she is. So she placed 2nd, and so I think she does 40 plus and 50 plus, or 45 plus and 40 plus. But Angela has a really, really fun stage presence, and is very polished and put together. And she always wears this red suit. It's like her signature red suit. I thought she had competed more this year, but I guess not. Maybe she just hasn't competed this year. She's already Olympia qualified for the Masters Olympia, I believe. But yeah, not overly muscular, tiny, tiny waist. Doesn't look super hard. She's definitely harder than open competitors, but with the Masters competitors, usually they come in looking a little bit harder because, as we age, the skin is just a little bit less elastic. And, people didn't used to wear sunscreen. So, like, the skin quality just isn't as, similar to the open. But yeah, great balance from top to bottom, great stage presence. She looks very natural on stage. And her waist is like, it's really hard to beat. Not that it's waist competition, but you know, it does matter. And then her back pose, I would like to see her bring her arms down a little bit. I don't love the elbows pointing out. That was really popular in 2019 when Issa won, because that's kind of how she was posing. But they don't really want that anymore. And I think a different shape to the bottoms would help her out. So this is like that T-back that Ashley Kay used to wear, and how we said that we're glad she's not wearing the T-back anymore, because it's exposing the shallowness on the upper outer edge of her glute. So yeah, I would fix the bottoms, but I think Angela has a high chance of doing well at this show. I don't know if she will win, but I think she'll definitely be in that top 3, if not winning. And then we have someone I was intrigued by. Her name is Stacey Gladwell. And Stacey, let me just make sure this is the most up-to-date photo. NPC was down yesterday, so I had to Google people and then go click on their name, but sometimes that doesn't give us the most updated. Okay, but this is. So she was competing in figure last year, and now she's going to be doing bikini. So she has a pretty, and her waist is tiny, so that's really going to help her in bikini. Helps in every division, but especially bikini for the purposes of her competition. So she has pretty much, always been competing in figure. Tiny waist. The conditioning and the muscularity, I think it's a good move that she's moving to bikini for this show at least, because she's not overly muscular. Like if an open figure competitor were to compete with bikini competitors, that would be a pretty extreme difference. But the Masters bikini people are usually pretty dense and really conditioned. And with the amount of conditioning, you have to be able to carry that amount of muscle so that you don't look like soft on stage. So I think she's going to fit in well with the bikini people. I'm excited to see. She has super full glutes, so that's awesome for bikini, obviously. And I'm really excited to see her on the bikini stage to see how she stacks up. And I wanted to pull up her Instagram to see what she has been looking like. So she doesn't have any stories. Okay, yeah. So I guess she doesn't really have any pictures, but this is what she's looking like in the gym. She's looking like just a bikini competitor. She's not looking like crazy proportions like a figure competitor relative to what open figure looks like compared to Masters. So yeah, that's my take there. I'm excited to see her. I don't know how she'll do, but I'm excited to see her. And this is who I'm really excited about. Okay, so here we have Tiffany Vaughn. And we're going to look at her IG also, because she has not competed since 2019, it doesn't look like. And she looked really, really good when she was competing. So she got 16th here, but this was in the open. So let's just look at her muscularity and compare it to the standard now. So beautiful shape, really soft, bubbly muscles. Skin looks beautiful. It's like radiant. And it looks a little bit more... I'm sorry, I don't mean it like this, but I think Masters competitors would agree that, like, the skin just looks, like, plumper. It doesn't look like a lot of the Master bikini competitor skin. And just know that when I say that, I'm hoping to look like one of these Master competitors once I am that age. So, yeah, not a knock. I think she could not arch as much in her back pose. Again, we don't want to see this, like, little area. But really great fullness, really great stage presence. So I'm excited to see her compete again for the first time in a long time. And here she is, cat's out of the bag. She's hitting the stage, and you can see that her glutes are like very full, round, very bubbly delts. Looks confident. We're just gonna watch this video. We're just going to watch this video. So I'm excited to see her on stage for the first time in about 5 years. So that's pretty much it for me. Who do I think is going to win? I think it's hard to know. I think it's a little bit wide open. Jennifer, I looked up all these people. Jennifer Greer, I'll look her up again, but who is this? Yeah, she looks great. I really like her stage presence. She hasn't done as well in the Masters show. She did get a 5th place, but I wouldn't be surprised if she swooped in and won, because she has all the pieces, like the stage glam, everything looks good. It might just be a matter of if she usually comes in too conditioned or something. I can't really tell based off these pictures, but here she was when she placed 5th place this year. And then I think another person to always look out for. Yeah, she looks great. She looks great. So I wouldn't be surprised if she surprised us. And then Miriam Jenkins is someone that I did not pull up, but she always does really well. She's like almost 60, I believe. And she always places really well, including in the 40 zone. She won a 50 plus this year. Can you believe that? Can you believe this one is 50? So she's always fun to watch. And I'll be excited to see how she stacks up in this 40 plus class. So I think that is all for me. I know this one wasn't like as exciting because I'm not as familiar with the competitors, but I hope you had fun anyway. And thank you guys. You've been so sweet liking my videos. I'm so grateful. And it's encouraging because I'm always like, should I even be doing all these? So that's nice. So I appreciate it. If you want to talk about bodybuilding or have any questions, then let me know. Okay, bye.